Who's out there?
Well, it ain't fucking Frosty.
Hello, Huge Boy Fanatic Nate coming at you to do a movie review. So basically, I don't know if it was late November, I think it was. I actually reviewed the Michael Keaton version of Jack Frost, and I had several people leave comments. They're like, "Oh man, I thought this was the review of the horror movie." Putting the date there, and then this, I figured people would know it's the Michael Keaton one or whatever. So in my review of the Michael Keaton Jack Frost, we got several disappointed viewers. Understandably so. I was a disappointed viewer of that movie as well. Not of my own review, but of the movie was just nothing but disappointment. Whether it's watching the movie or watching a review of the movie, it leads to nothing but disappointment. So, those comments combined with just, me thinking about the horror movie version of Jack Frost and having not seen it. I mean, I saw it once back in, I think, the early 2000s on VHS, and I never saw it again. And then I was kind of toying with, well, if I came across it for cheap, I'd buy it, but that's probably not going to happen. And then lo and behold, I looked online, and I realized, or I found out that Vinegar Syndrome had actually done a Blu-ray release of it, like in 2016, like a year ago, that scores like perfectly, of course, in audio and video and audio on Blu-ray.com. And now Vinegar Syndrome really knocking it out of the park with Blu-ray presentations lately, with so many releases of horror movies and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, Vinegar Syndrome's got got a Blu-ray that scores perfectly, that's out. And I'm like, screw it, I just bought the Blu-ray. I figured I'd never owned this in any version, and I hadn't seen it for almost going on 20 years now. I figured, why not just buy it? It's a new pristine transfer of the movie. So I'm coming at you to review the movie and Blu-ray of Jack Frost, 1997. I always thought that that this movie came out after the Michael Keaton one. I was very surprised to see that this one actually came out a year before the Michael Keaton one. So what do you know? It was kind of, I don't know, they should kind of be proud that, I don't know if it was their movie that prompted that movie to be made or whatever, but I'd also be pissed that, proud and pissed at the same time, if I had made Jack Frost, that, the big budget family movie would come out or whatever a year later. So I don't know if I'd be happier or mad about that if I was the maker of this original Jack Frost movie. On to my review of the movie. So like I say, I think the last time I saw it was early 2000s, only saw it once. That can kind of show you what I thought about it at the time. I couldn't remember anything about it other than the fact that it seemed to be filmed in very warm temperatures, because if there's any exterior shots, obviously this is meant to take place during the winter with snow because it's about a killer snowman. So if there's all I can remember about this movie is any exterior shots were either just close up tight on buildings, or if they did have, weren't around buildings, they were just low angles from the ground up, so you couldn't see the ground where there was no snow on when there was supposed to be snow on. And it was all these cotton balls, just all this kind of fake snow, whether it was just snow blankets or cotton balls or whatever. You can just, everyone, the sun looks hot and bright and warm as all hell. People are in jackets, scarves, and stuff like that. No breath. There's some scenes with breath, like at night, and some night scenes actually do have breath. So that's a relief. But during the day, I don't think there's any breath. It's just crappy California, like Gremlins. I have a big problem with Gremlins, with kind of the frost, just sprayed onto car windows and cars in general, and just the whole, that's the only thing I remember about this movie, is just if you're trying to make a California non-cold environment look cold and snowy and stuff, I just hate that crap. It's the same thing with the original Halloween. Like, it's freaking whatever, green leaves everywhere, and we're gonna make a movie that takes place in the Midwest on October 31st. Like, why have it? You're shooting it in California. Why not have it take place in California? It makes no sense to me. But so things like that, just basics, basic things like that, where you're shooting a movie that's supposed to be, a certain time of year, it's clearly not. Those things are really, to me, they're big strikes on a movie. It's like filming a movie that takes place on the ocean, in the desert. I mean, or vice versa. So to me, the movie loses a lot of, points just for that fact. So the movie starts, and it's I actually like one of the best things about this movie is the opening credits, where it's just panning down and around Christmas tree and ornaments and stuff, and that's the credits. You know, people's names and stuff will be on the ornaments. You have this, one of the best parts of the movie is the opening credits, in my opinion. You have this kind of overdubbing, this audio conversation between this like little girl voice, and it's clearly a woman just doing a little girl voice, and this British guy. Maybe it's the director, I don't know, but and it starts all like family friendly and stuff like that, and it's tell me a story about whatever, and Jack Frost or whatever, and he's like, okay, I'll tell you about this, and so I mean that's kind of got some of the most clever writing, and just so the opening credits are like, when those were happening, when I just rewatched this movie and for the first time watching it on this Blu-ray release, I was like, oh wow, I don't remember that. That's kind of creative in the opening credits and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I mean, that's like some of the best stuff in the movie, in my opinion. Then, once the opening credits are done, it opens in this, this horrible shot of like a truck driving down the road, and it's clearly just like in post-production or something like that. Maybe in camera, I can't tell exactly how this fake winter blizzard was done in front of the camera, but it's got that, the road is completely clear, everything is clear, but it's just like right in front of the camera this supposed blizzard is happening, but there's no snow anywhere else. It's like the blizzard is blowing right by camera, but it's not affecting anything else in the the shot of what you see. So basically the beginning of this movie is, these guys are transporting this killer who's by the name of Jack Frost. He's just this, just hardened, nasty-ass, hardcore serial killer guy. I think they're transferring him somewhere to actually be executed that night or something like that, and of course they get caught in a blizzard, which isn't a blizzard, it's just driving down, normal road with this crappy blizzard like put in front of the camera effect, just so lame or whatever, and then, with the fake fake snow ice stuff on the windshield and stuff, it's just like, give me a break. And what ends up happening is, I'm not sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure that this truck carrying Jack Frost collides with this other truck on the road, because it is this blizzard, after all, that's only taking place in front of the camera lens, but whatever. Collides with this other truck that's carrying this top secret kind of whatever, chemicals or whatever, that this one outfit is trying to, we find out later, that I'll just tell you now, that this one outfit is this government agency outfit or whatever is trying to make this substance that he can just spray onto people or whatever, so they can just I don't know, how do you say that word, molecularly form with any kind of other material or something to combine with that to survive like a nuclear holocaust or something like that. So it's this experimental liquid that is designed to be able to, make people change into other things to survive a nuclear war, Armageddon or some crap like that, just, whatever. And basically, obviously, in low budget, simple, movie fashion, in the snowstorm, which is only taking place in, an inch away from the camera, the paddy wagon carrying this cold-hardened killer, that's kind of a pun there, Jack Frost, collides with this, from what I can remember, this truck carrying this top-secret stuff, and obviously, Jack Frost gets out of the paddy wagon and ends up standing right in front of, unbeknownst to him, this other truck that explodes, this top secret chemical all over him, and then he instantly just melts down, his physical form melts down and into the snow, and kind of a cool low budget scene of him just deteriorating, and there's this one shot where it's the real guy, and then they cut away or whatever, and it's back to a skeleton like on the ground going ugh or whatever, and so he basically just completely materializes into nothing and goes into the snow, and he mixes with the snow, and that's how he kind of becomes a killer snowman or whatever. And the people think that we're transporting him and stuff, that the people think that he died. Obviously he was on his way, I think, to be executed at midnight or whatever, and people think obviously he's got sprayed by this stuff and he completely disappeared or melted or whatever. Everyone assumes he died. There's the main character of this movie is basically this cop played by this older guy, maybe 40s, 50s in this movie. Kind of probably one of the only decent kind of screen presences in this movie. So him and his family, this guy was tormented by Jack Frost or whatever, and Jack Frost, at his sentencing or whatever, threatens this guy. Maybe this guy is probably the one who was involved in capturing him. I think we see a flashback of that happening later on, I think, or something like that. So basically, the Jack Frost threatens this main star guy, the main player. One of the main characters of this movie is like a sheriff of the small town of Snowminton, which is a kind of a funny frickin' fake name for a town or whatever. The town of Snowminton. At Jack Frost sentencing, Jack Frost is like, of course, this guy completely, it's a low budget horror movie just for laughs and stuff. This guy playing Jack Frost completely just plays it over the top, like, I'm gonna find a way to get you, I'm gonna come back and get you, you're dead, or whatever the hell he says. So obviously this main character sheriff guy is, spends the first part of the movie being on edge and stuff like that, and we see him continuously having flashbacks of, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna find a way. And obviously, I think he's anxious about, this is the night that Jack Frost is due to get executed or whatever, and he's anxious when he hears news about the crash, and he's like, so what happened to Jack Frost? Oh, he's dead, and then later on in this movie, there's this FBI asshole agent that comes into play, and I can't remember exactly, like, why he's even, I guess he's teamed up with this guy who either knows about this secret fluid to transform people into other, physical properties of stuff or whatever. Either he knows about it or he was involved in, I think he was involved in creating this stuff. So maybe they got wind of, well, obviously they probably know that Jack Frost was sprayed by this stuff, so they probably want to just track, FBI or whatever wants to track him down to see if he's really dead or if their serum stuff worked or whatever. So that's the basic premise of this movie. Then you just got, that this town of Snowminton, which is basically no snow anywhere. Little to no snow anywhere, and they literally just have to lay down a patch of it to have a shot of a couple kids sliding by on sleds. It's just like that. That's, like I say, one of the only things I remember about this movie was just the pitiful attempt to do a movie that was supposed to be completely, take place in a winter wonderland, which is clearly not. So you never have any, shots of huge vistas of snow or anything like that because there are none to film. Nowadays, if this movie was made, I can see them possibly doing, shooting huge vistas in like CG, computer graphically putting in fake snow on the ground, which would be really no better than not showing it at all anyway. So that's the basic premise of this movie. And then I guess I don't think Jack Frost is necessarily has, I don't think his first and biggest whatever you call it priority is to, I don't think his top priority is to go and get the sheriff. I think he's just going on a killing spree. I can't remember if he's, if that's his first priority or not, but regardless, he just basically goes on this killing spree, and people who come in, who basically get in his way or whatever, he kills or whatever. This movie, incidentally or interestingly enough, features Shannon Elizabeth in probably one of her, I would imagine, one of her first parts, because obviously she would go on to be, American Pie movies would make her a household name or whatever. And I can't tell if this is before or after she had some work done on the chest area or whatever, but either way, I mean, she doesn't show them. Obviously, she shows her chest in American Pie, the first movie or whatever. That's a big part of her character, if she's got a character in that movie. So, I mean, I don't know if this is before or after she got her work done, but you see like her butt or whatever in underwear, or it could be a double, I suppose, but there's this scene with her in the bath scene. It's so funny because like she'll dry her hair off, and then the next scene she goes and takes a bath and gets her head completely underwater. So basically that's what this movie is. It's just, for being low budget and stuff, they do pull off some kind of cool stuff. Obviously the Jack Frost is, I thought that it was, my recollection was that they could have pulled off Jack Frost a little better. Like with the Michael Keaton one where they actually have someone in this thing walking around and, moving, or to some extent, I was surprised to see that there weren't really even any like full-bodied or even like, torso up shots of him at all. It was basically just like a head and then some every now and then like two arms will come into the shot or whatever. So the actual mechanics or whatever of Jack Frost are few and far between. We don't really see the character do much at all, and I think they, you know, probably could have done more than they did. But I mean, I guess it's easy for me to say just sitting here not making a movie, but you know, in retrospect, I thought that there was more like Jack Frost kind of, I don't know, more on screen with Jack Frost or whatever, but not really. You know, the look is kind of cool with the, you know, the carrot nose and I think like coal eyes, but the cool thing is like the twigs for the, you know, the eyebrows and stuff like that. But like I say, you never really see anything below, you know, just from here up of Jack Frost. You don't see, I don't think you ever see his legs, and I don't see why it would have been so difficult to make kind of like a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man outfit, to have, you know, full body shots of this guy running around or whatever. But I don't, from what I can remember, they don't really do that. I don't know if there's probably never really anyone in any outfit. It's just like a head, and then they'll just put a couple of arms in a couple of Jack Frost arm sleeves and put them in front of the camera or whatever. So the Jack Frost, you know, effects in this movie are basically, you know, not really much of anything. You know, this movie is completely and totally played tongue-in-cheek. You gotta give it, you know, some props and respect for that. It's not like it's trying to be something serious, being a ridiculous idea like a killer snowman. It's completely played for fun. So the movie gets a little bit of credit for that. You got some relatively kind of fun Christmas/winter related kills, like a kid sledding over this other kid's, you know, neck with one of those kind of sleds that has the, I don't know how you really, they're not the plastic sled, but the more, you know, the sleds with the, like, it's almost like they have two skates on each side. I don't know how to even say what kind of sled it is, but you know, the metal kind with the two, one on each side. It's almost like a metal skates thing or whatever. So this kid ends up accidentally sledding over this other bully kid that Jack Frost pushed down onto the ground and gets his head cut off, which is kind of a cool winter/Christmas related kill. You've got another kill where Jack Frost shoves an axe. And usually when you have an axe for a kill scene, it's just using the blade to cut someone's head off, or you know, lop the axe into them. And it's interesting switching of events with an axe, or a kill with an axe. We have Jack Frost shoving an axe down someone's throat, you know, handle down their throat. So that's kind of a different way to kill someone with an axe. And killing a woman with, you know, wrapping Christmas lights around her neck and basically a Christmas ornament in her mouth, and smashing her face against a box of Christmas ornaments or whatever. Those are some of the Christmas/winter related kills in this movie. And basically later on, Jack Frost will come into a house where these two kids are going to have sex, you know, Shannon and Elizabeth and this other kid. And while Shannon Elizabeth is drying her hair right before she takes a bath, this other kid dies with Jack Frost shooting icicles out of his, you know, hand. Jack Frost's kind of snow mitten or hand, if you will, into the kid, and kind of a cool idea. Another thing that's kind of cool about this movie is Jack Frost, unlike the Michael Keaton one, like, you know, if he were to melt in that movie, it's like bad. But in this movie, Jack Frost can kind of melt and reform on command, which is a kind of a cool effect. So he gets in places that way by melting and turning into water and basically dripping under the door and then reforming into a snowman, pardon me, to kill. That's how he killed the kid with the, you know, that's how he got in the house to kill the kid with the icicle spikes and Shannon Elizabeth later on. So, you know, that whole aspect, I mean, the movie's not a complete loss. There's a lot of creative writing and kind of funny dialogue and creative things they do with the idea of the killer snowman, but unfortunately because of its limited budget, they can't realize very much of it on screen. So the ideas of Jack Frost melting and going, you know, dripping into places or under doors and reforming into a killer snowman to kill and stuff like that, and leaving puddles and stuff. You know, people just assume it's like a footprint of someone wearing a boot. Well, no, a puddle, you know, is also could be a footprint of a killer snowman. So those kind of just, I don't know, details were kind of cool, and you know, I appreciated that stuff. You know, Shannon Elizabeth's death is kind of cool because obviously it's been shown that, you know, Jack Frost can just at will melt into water. So basically what ends up happening is she ends up taking a bath after she dries her hair, and Jack Frost kind of materializes. I can't remember what the hell, I don't know where he even comes from or whatever, but all of a sudden, like, Jack Frost water is in the tub with her, and it just all of a sudden kind of freezes and forms up around her, so her hands are kind of like caught, her hands and arms are kind of caught in his body in a way, so that's why she can't escape, and she's naked, and might be a body double, we don't know, but like with her arms caught in the snowman, and Jack Frost is kind of like just, I don't know, I don't know if he's like screwing / smashing her against the, the wall of the tub or whatever, standing up, and just slaps, I don't know, it's supposed to probably be like a sexual motion or whatever, but I don't think he's probably screwing her, I hope not. He's probably just smashing her up against the wall or whatever, and that's how Shannon Elizabeth dies. And, to be honest, I found this movie to really, I mean, some of the dialogue and some of the jokes and stuff like that are kind of funny, but to be honest, I mean, I found really none of the characters to be particularly interesting, and like happens with so many movies, like there's a lot of characters, and in my opinion, you don't really get to spend, I don't know, enough time really with any of them to really get to know any of them for any sense at all. It's just like, and this main sheriff's got a wife and a son, and the son's kind of, I don't know, it's just, it seems to be like a lot of characters, but like I say, you spend such a limited amount of time with each character, like you don't get to know any of them or whatever. That's kind of one of my problems with the movie. It's like literally a lot of these characters are introduced, and then the next scene they're in, they just die or whatever, but I don't know, it's just, the characters to me, I mean, obviously it's a low budget horror movie, but so what do you expect? But the characters to me aren't really very interesting. There's nothing really very interesting about this movie, in my opinion, except for, the humor is, I guess, more or less decently, done, and there's some funny stuff and ironic lines and stuff like that. I can't believe they didn't have a scene with, like, Jack Frost biting off someone's nose, obviously Jack Frost nipping at your nose. They kind of referenced that in the opening credits with the, the two people talking with their Christmas story or whatever, but they really should have had a scene where Jack Frost was trying to, bite someone's nose off, or, does that. It's kind of in my opinion, a gag that they completely didn't take advantage of, or completely a missed opportunity in that regard. So the movie ends with, how do you kill a killer snowman that can, basically thaw himself in the water and freeze himself back up? Well, the kid earlier on in the movie made his dad some frickin', I don't know, sloppy whatever treats crap, oatmeal chocolate with marshmallows or something like that that Dad never ate, but luckily he never ate it, because he comes to realize that, oh, I wanted to keep you warm, Dad, so I put antifreeze in it too, so good thing Dad never ate any of it. But that's obviously, because of the stupid kids, treat he made for Dad, which could have killed Dad. Dad at the end of the movie is like, oh my gosh, you're brilliant, son, actually you're an idiot, but well, for the purposes of killing the snowman, you're brilliant, so you just gave me an idea, let's kill Jack Frost with antifreeze. I thought that was one of the best things about this movie. See, the movie, I guess the biggest problem with the movie is just its budget. From what I hear from some of the interviews on the Blu-ray, is that initially they had more money to make this movie, and at the last minute, like, a lot of the money fell through, and they ended up with not so much money to make the movie. So that kind of shows, because I think that it was written and conceived in a way that is relatively creative. But my biggest problem with the movie is it was almost like, and if that is true about them losing money, it makes sense, because that's what it plays like. It plays like they had this grand idea, but no means to execute it, which is one of my kind of suggestions for people making a movie on little to no budget, is don't write beyond your means, because then you just, write to what you're actually capable of making, because if you write beyond your means, then you're just going to be disappointed, and you're going to have this stupid movie with, if you try to do Star Wars for $20, you're going to have all these, micro machines flying around with wires on them and stuff like that, and it's just not going to work out. So that, in a way, they almost should have, I don't know, just abandoned this movie or this idea when the money, if that is true, when the money kind of fizzled or whatever. But I mean, a lot of people like this movie because of its low budget campness. So I mean, whatever. To me, it just it is a little low budget for what it wants to do. Obviously, you know, so at the end of the movie they just fill this back of this truck up with a huge, you know, bunch of antifreeze, and they, you know, hero Sheriff Dad smashes out the window holding Killer Jack Frost snowman and brings him down into this truck, you know, this back pickup truck full of antifreeze, and, you know, basically kills. And that's kind of a good idea, a good way to kill a killer snowman. Just mix his water with antifreeze. That way he can never basically take, you know, the snowman form again. Of course, one could argue, well, he's still in the water or whatever, but obviously having been diluted with antifreeze. But then, see, that's another thing about, like, you know, him combining himself with the Shannon Elizabeth's bathwater. It's like, how does he ever... But I mean, it's, you know, separate himself from that water that he combined himself with in the bathtub or whatever, and how did he form into a snowman, like if he was combined with warm water or hot water? This is stuff that obviously is just moot point because it's a goofy, low-budget killer snowman horror movie. So I guess I can understand now, having seen this movie, why I never saw it, why I only saw it once and I hadn't seen it again. Kind of regret buying the Blu-ray, to be honest, but whatever. I'll give Jack Frost 1.5 stars out of 4 stars. It might be more like, I don't know, realistically might be more like 1 or 1.25 stars, but just because, you know, the ideas were sound, I will give it 1.5 stars out of 4 stars because the ideas were sound. And like I say, the movie does play like a movie with a competent creative force, being, like in this case, maybe the writers and director behind it, with just, you know, minimum means, which is, like I say, if that thing happened where money fell through, I can understand how this movie became the way it did. So that's my review of the movie, and now on to the review of the absolutely fantastic Blu-ray that came out by Vinegar Syndrome, I think in December or November, something like that, of 2016. You got scanned and restored in 2K from 35mm vault elements. I mean, it looks fantastic. You know, they don't mention whether it's a negative or not. Usually if it's a negative, they'll say that. So I don't know what exactly they mean by vault elements in this particular case. Commentary track with the director, video introduction with the director, video interview with the lead actor, and video interview with director of photography, cover artwork by this guy, reversible cover art. So it actually looks like, when you look at this, like it's got a lot of special features, but it really doesn't. When you actually go to the special features part of the menu, it's just like what? It's just like the commentary and 2 interviews, really. So unfortunately, the extras on this Blu-ray release are a little sparse. But the main thing that you're really getting the Blu-ray for is the image quality. And as I've already said, now if this opinion matters to you, it did get a perfect score in both video and audio on Blu-ray.com, and I can confirm at least the video part of it, because most of the stuff I watch like this, I mean, this says 5.1. I can't imagine the 5.1 is much of anything, but I guess, I mean, it's scored perfectly on Blu-ray.com, so maybe it is, but I didn't watch this in 5.1. I just watch it with the kind of the 2-channel stereo speakers connected, you know, to the TV or whatever. Not to the TV, but to the Blu-ray player. So I can't comment on the 5.1, but I can comment on, oh my gosh, the video quality, the image quality of this Blu-ray presentation is just like so many of the Vinegar Syndrome releases, just absolutely fantastic. You know, like earlier this year I reviewed the movie in Blu-ray The Slaughterhouse that they put out, and I've reviewed Graduation Day and other releases, Luther the Geek, other releases they've done as well. I just can't believe it, you know, even though I'm not a fan of 4K, you know, TV and Blu-ray, just because I'm sick of buying TVs and, you know, discs and rebuying movies over and over. Just like with the, you know, the Blu-ray release of Slaughterhouse, I mean, watching this Blu-ray, it almost looks like what you could potentially be seeing as a 4K TV. I mean, even though this was said to have been scanned in 2K, the presentation, the video presentation on this Blu-ray release is absolutely, completely and totally fantastic. I mean, I just, you know, the opening credits with the Christmas tree and stuff like that, I was just like, holy cow, that looks good. And the whole, you know, it obviously, you know, this movie obviously looks better on this version than the version I saw it in. So, I mean, this, you know, seeing this relatively crappy movie in this pristine quality, I guess, to some extent makes the movie a little bit better. Like, if you're going to watch it, you know, it's probably best to watch it in this version. I guess it's best to watch any movie in the best version, but I mean, if you're watching, I mean, you can watch really good movies with crappy versions and still enjoy them, but I mean, what I'm saying is I find this movie to be more or less particularly crappy, so, you know, in that particular sense, you're going to want to watch the best version possible of, I don't know what the hell I'm saying, but I can safely say that the image looks absolutely fantastic. Holy Toledo, really, really great for this particular release. Not too, you know, it's a movie that, you know, I guess one could revisit every year this time of year, but it's, I don't know, like I say, kind of regret buying it or whatever, but that's okay. That's water or ice under the bridge, as it were. So that pretty much does it for my review of the movie slash Blu-ray of the movie Jack Frost from 1997, I think. Now, what's interesting about this release is, you know, I'm surprised they didn't include the cover art from the original, you know, VHS release. All they include is this kind of redone cover art, which this is kind of basically, I think, what the cover art from the VHS release was. Oh, also I should say that this particular release, like I think pretty much all the Vinegar Syndrome releases I have, feature a DVD and a Blu-ray. You know, and the Blu-ray's got one face and the DVD's got the other face. But what I was saying is I was really surprised in the reversible cover art that it doesn't include, you know, the original VHS artwork, which is a lot like this. So, as with so many of these releases, you have a reversible cover art option, so you can have this cover art or this cover art, which, I don't know, I don't think he really ever looks like that with his eyebrows up in a kind of a innocent way. I mean, this is kind of how he looks, pardon me, for, I guess, yeah, I don't understand. They should have had this look on the cover with his evil eyebrows. I don't know why they have him look all innocent or whatever, because I don't think he generally looks like that, except maybe towards the beginning of the movie where he's just sitting there and people are, you know, just oblivious to the fact that he's a killer snowman. But that is my review of the movie slash Blu-ray Jack Frost. Yeah, I can't recommend the movie too terribly much. I would imagine it's probably on YouTube. I didn't even think of that. You know, to try to watch it on YouTube. I don't know why I never think of that, or often don't. But maybe the movie's on YouTube to watch in its entirety. You know, I can't recommend the movie, but like so many releases, I can, you know, of stellar Blu-ray releases of a crappy movie, I can't recommend the movie, but I can highly recommend the Blu-ray if you're on the fence about this movie. Just be warned that, I don't know, in my opinion, there's not a whole hell of a lot going for the movie. I mean, yes, it's got its cue points. It has some creative stuff, but in my opinion, the characters are just so drab. So much of it is uninteresting, and for being a movie that's supposed to be in a winter wonderland, it's just clearly not. The sun looks so hot during the day, and just the spray-painted frost all over cars and stuff like that. It's just like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, if you like this kind of, you know, ultra, you know, low budget, well, it's not ultra low budget, it's shot on 35mm, but that's pretty much the only thing it has going for it. Like, it's actually filmed on 35mm, but, you know, after, you know, that's all they had, pretty much all they had money for was 35mm film stock. So, I mean, obviously this movie's got a big following. There's big fans of it. I can safely say, having seen it again for the first time in almost 20 years, that I'm not one of those big fans of this movie. Thank you very much for watching my review, and as always, we'll catch you next time.